Perfect. Well, welcome. And we'd like to call to order with the roll call, please, if you don't mind, Tony.
Yep, absolutely. So I'll start with Chair Charlie Harrington.
Present.
Vice Chair Nick Markman.
Present.
Committee Member Wayne Stacey.
Present.
Committee Member John Sherm.
Present.
And Committee Member Marika Berksand has excused herself. And we also have Council Liaison Jane Cooper.
Present.
Thank you, Tony. Okay, we're going to do a slight reshuffle of the agenda. We'd like to move what is item number 5 to be the next immediate item. So it'll happen next, and that is the updates by the Lanes Subcommittee on the report to City Council on the Beach Road Strip. Great. Do I need to ask for permission for that? No, that's fine.
No, I think
it's in my prerogative.
You bringing it forward is the way to do it.
Okay, great. Well, I don't have much of an update on this, largely because the timing of our meetings, as everyone knows, we meet rather infrequently, which I want to discuss later. But there was a previous City Council meeting where it came up where the Lane Subcommittee of this very committee would be providing a survey and report to city staff and city council specifically on the revocable licenses associated with the strip. Parks, open spaces, and lanes, responsible for stewardship of parks, open spaces, of lanes, of which the strip being designated as a park is one of those things. When we met with city council, we stated that we would be coordinating with the planning department in terms of receiving materials. So the update we have on this is that we stated we would not be active on this during the summer other than setting up the document exchange, which has taken place. So we wanted to say thank you to Rebecca and Sammy, as well as Jane, for your help in gathering the records. We have received a number of recorded revocable licenses, staff reports, drawings, photos, meeting minutes. These are all provided securely to the subcommittee. Marika shares that she's started to review those, and the plan is that we are going to create, similar to the lane survey last year, a little tracker document where we can look into all of those and provide updates. And again, the framing for this was to provide an asset to city staff and city council when looking at these things, because they do come up time to time. When the survey draft is completed, I believe we'll hopefully target early fall. We will be sharing it with this committee and sharing it with you, Tony, and city staff. So that's mainly the update I have on that topic. Jane.
Can I ask a question just for clarification for myself and everybody here? When you say that this committee is looking at all revocable licenses, are you talking about ones that are the lanes and in public space, or are you saying this committee is looking at all private revocable licenses? So if you own a home and your pier goes down to the water and there's a revocable license, but it's not a lane. Are we looking at private revocable licenses?
I don't know that I have the exact distinction you have in mind, but the lanes you can think about as one component of what this survey is looking at, and then the recreation zone designated as the strip of which some of those piers and docks may be cutting across. That's also in consideration. So I think the goal is to sort of work down that entire stretch that is designated as park. And I don't have the exact list of documents we've received from the planning department. I expect there may be some additional documents that we need to request as we start to look into that. Do you have any guidance in that regard?
No, I mean, I think we have to be careful if we're looking at private ownership versus when it's on a lane, which we've been running into, where the lanes, an individual home has a revocable license on the lane itself, and it hasn't been kept up.
Yeah.
And I think that's so that access for the public. But certainly these other ones are not public access. They're privately owned, except for going under.
Right.
Anything walking under. But other than that, I would not know where our influence would come
Yeah,
Right,
the
so-
main guidance was in terms of what is impacting public access, whether it's on a lane or on the navigable area along the strip. But
Yeah, just to jump in to provide a bit of context, from the council's perspective, I believe that this is part of their discussion on RLs in general, and their sort of protocols on how they manage their RL approval decisions. So this is input into that deliberation for them. The conversation I had with the city manager was that really the value that that this committee can provide is kind of digging into details and discussing with staff how to present those to council and how they can be of value to council, to the city council with their work. Yeah, and apart from that, I think I don't think there are any specific action items that will that are lined up for this. I think any of the if there are any issues that are found and highlighted, the city's position is not to police actions that or activities that have happened over many years. So yeah, I think it's a work in progress, and I think it's something that will be continually coordinated with staff and certain council members.
Thanks for that context. And again, this falls within the responsibilities of this committee to provide these surveys, and I might even call them acts of service to help the city council with that periodically as requested. So thank you for that context. Does the committee have any comments or questions on this item?
My understanding is that section of the island is half recreational, half open space. Are we only covering the recreational portion?
The remit, as I understand, is to cover both recreation and open space.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment on Zoom relating to this item? Okay. Is there any public comment in the room on this item? Yes, please step forward, and if you don't mind stating your name and your address, and also pressing the button so your mic turns green. That was a lot of instructions. I'm sorry. I can repeat them.
And I've got it green. Albert Richards, I'm at 266 Beach Road. Jane, you mentioned kind of in the preamble as we were in our discussions that building isn't allowed on the strip. That's a subject of debate. And I think I've seen in past planning approvals a reference to an 1898 deed that says no structures are permitted on the strip. That begs the legal question of what is a structure and how was that defined in 1898 in that document, which is unclear. The document itself is between the Belvedere Land Company and Belvedere. The land company still exists. We have an opportunity to clarify that such that it becomes something that does not become the subject of multiple lawsuits in the future. And I would strongly advise the city to engage with the land company to make that as flexible as possible, such that we don't use that document in a backhanded manner to create someone's own definition of structure in order to back into a preferred solution, and instead have it be as flexible as possible going forward, such that the city has the remit to use the strip as it sees fit. One of the dangers there is right now is if there's a failure and there is, let's say, a walkway that goes across, is that a structure? And if somebody wants to put a walkway or a platform, is that a structure? And if they already exist and the city decides that that is a structure, the city is basically taking the legal view that the strip has already reverted to Belvedere land. Because Belvedere lands, the deed says if there's a structure on the strip, it reverts to Belvedere land ownership. So if you're in a situation that if there's a failure below somebody's house, and then you have two different parties that can potentially be actioned. One is the city because it owns, or two is the Belvedere Land Company because someone can claim that the land has actually already reverted to Belvedere Land Company because of that deed. And that is just an incredible legal quagmire that I would strongly encourage the city to have a rational conversation with Belvedere Land, get a nice flexible arrangement that we can move forward as a city for the benefit of the overall community. Certainly from a existing standpoint and from a what's essentially the pattern and practice of the city has been to deem a walkway or a platform or something like that not a structure because you've approved it a lot in the past, most recently at our neighbors. And I would be more than happy to have people come down and take a look at what's going on down there. We have a stairway that goes all the way down, even though the lane next to us does not, which is a subject of a different discussion. But I think if one of the things that concerns me is in the past, it appears as though people have been making decisions about that area who have never visited it. And again, open invitation to come take a look. I would encourage us to have a rational conversation about what works best for the entire community as we go forward.
Thank you. Yes.
Chair,
Do you remember the instructions?
Well, fortunately, it's still green.
Yeah, and sorry, Tony.
If I could just jump in to say, there is, and I should have said this in the beginning, but we don't normally have, we're not normally this popular. There is usually a time limit for comment, which is 3 minutes. Yep.
Okay.
I will abide by the additional instruction. 2 points regarding.
My
name
name
is
and your
Kevin
address.
Kuhn, 222 Beach Road.
Thank you.
So 2 points regarding building on the strip. One is the house at 228 Beach Road, which the Murrays currently own, was developed by the Tevises, who were the original owner, some of the original owners of the Belvedere Land Company. And you can find in the historical records the massive staircase that they built on the hill when the hill was bare that goes over the strip to the water. They're the people that deeded the strip to the city. So why would they do something that I thought was bad? There's a little discontinuity there. The second thing I would say regarding structure is that left to its own devices, the strip will naturally fall into the water. It is to the benefit of the city to allow people to put walkways and other structures, and I would say even plants on the strip to maintain the integrity of the hill. That's it.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, am I up?
I'm not sure if you heard Chris there, but we can hear you now, Mark.
Oh, I'm sorry. I appreciate the prior comments. Mark Conroe, 310 Beach Road. My question, I guess, very fundamentally is what problem are we trying to solve? It seems like it's pedestrian beach access, and sort of irrespective of where the strip begins and ends, if that's a goal, then I think we should be trying to achieve that goal. And I would echo what Bert says, is to comment out there to have anybody who wants to, Parks and Rec and others, to come out there and see what kind of beach access there is, both under various conditions. Under high tide, there is really no beach access because the water comes up to the hillside. And as members of the Parks and Recs know, 4 months ago, I met with them and trying to facilitate a solution. I think we came up with a solution as it relates to 310 and 312 Beach Road in terms of having access at relative high tide. But there is, in some parts of the strip, you can't get by, certainly at high tide. So again, I would just have us try to focus on what problem we're trying to solve. If it's for pedestrian access along the beach, then I think we can all try to work together to achieve that. That's all.
Thank you, Mark. I may respond directly to Mark. Mark, I was among the group of people that went with Mark and others, and there were city staff, and Marika and others went down and visited the spot where Mark pointed out. And I'll also state that I do personally try to go down to the strip as much as possible. Even this past weekend, I jumped in at the beach and was swimming with my kids, which was a delight. One of the things I was going to bring up in my next comments was relating to another responsibility of this committee, which is to be involved in planning commission responses to things that are adjacent to parks, open spaces, and lanes. I would first like to say thank you to the planning department for being very proactive in providing us with these materials. And I think the relationship there is really solid in terms of alerting to us when there is a development along a lane or related to a park. So I think that that's going well. And it's often on the responsibility of the chair to review these because this committee does not meet so frequently. So they're representing the stated objectives of park open space, which is to effectively steward the recreational zones, parks, open spaces, and lanes, of which the lanes often come up into these considerations, as does the strip. And some of the things that we do look for stewarding these areas. So I think there's been lots of useful discussion today that'll be really helpful for that. So thank you.
Can I get clarification? Are you seeking comment on Mark's project in particular?
Not at this meeting. I'm more saying that I'll be working on collaborating on a Parks Open Spaces Lane comment on that project. I would love to have public input if you don't mind. Yes, thank you.
Just a quick comment from a neighbor. Anything that helps support the hillside, any piers that keep it from sliding down, that is a huge public benefit. You mentioned public benefit.
Yes.
If that's what you're looking for, it's a great project.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And I'll just also round up by saying that if anybody has any questions, they're welcome to contact staff, and we can provide updates or let people know where the city is on it.
Great. And again, thank you to this committee for ongoing work in working on protecting and beautifying these areas. So thank you. I think that covers this item, which was item number 5. With that, we can move to item number 2, which is comments from the chair, of which I have none. So let's move on to a report from Public Works Director Tony Boyd.
Thank you, Chair Charlie. As we all know, we had late rains this year, and we received a flush of growth in vegetation and weeds. And the city's contractor is continuing trimming of vegetation along roadsides and lanes. This is primarily for fire fuel reduction, and additional fire fuel work is planned for the city's open space properties on West Shore, which will consist primarily of removal of dead vegetation and debris. And Pagoda Lane, where overgrowth of ivy and weeds has created a thicket. This work will improve the views from Pagoda Lane as well as the health of the trees, but it will likely require consistent additional maintenance over the next couple of years to really improve the site until routine fire fuel reduction maintenance is established. Artist's View was trimmed a couple of weeks ago in what is now annual fire fuel reduction work on that property. Speaking of Artist's View, I can provide the update that structural engineering design work is complete and the RFP packet has been put together to post the Artist's View deck project for bidding. Look out for the posting on Friday in the Marin INJ, and it'll be in our usual online channels. The deadline for bids is July the 30th, after which a contractor will be selected and provided with a notice to proceed. Staff anticipates this project to be completed in the fall. The city's crew has been very busy every Tuesday since the end of June with the curbside pickup program. This program encourages residents to clear fire fuel vegetation from their property by offering a free pickup on Tuesdays through June. And this year was a very big year, as many residents clearly took advantage of the program. As summer starts to warm up, irrigation becomes critical in the parks, especially where turf is concerned. Alberto and his crew have been working on issues with the system at Tom Price Park, which has led to dry areas in the grass. The trouble appears to stem from the manganese deposits that have built up over the years on the inside of the pipes, valves, and sprinkler heads. The new manganese filter that was installed last year has improved water quality. However, the residual deposits remain. A mini project to replace 19 valves is planned for the next few weeks, which will hopefully address this issue, as well as improve the functioning of the system as a whole. And those are my comments. And if anyone has any questions, they're welcome to ask.
May we have an update on the removal of the playground mounds, which I believe is done?
Yes, well, it's partly done.
Okay.
Some of the mounds have been removed, but I can hand it over to Chris for that update.
Yes, just a quick update on the mound removal. So the tan mounds have been removed, as you probably have seen. There's a remaining wave-themed mound near the tan mounds that will be removed in the next week or so. That's just kind of been rescheduled just due to make sure the coloring is consistent with what is existing and that it's more aesthetically pleasing. Doesn't look like a repair. Looks more of a themed wave. So that's the update. So in the next, let's see, the 8th, probably within the next 2 weeks, it'll be removed and replaced.
Thank you, Chris. Are there any comments on staff report from Zoom, Chris?
There are no comments.
Are there any comments from the room on staff report? Okay, we can move on. Okay, we're into schedule items. Number 4 is the update and discussion on lanes. Tony, I believe you gave some degree of update of this in your report, but do you have anything to add for item A?
Yeah, yes, I can add a couple of details related to maintenance and repairs. There has been tree work that's taken place and some handrail repairs. Tree work was completed at Park Lane to improve the views from the new seating area. And I can report that I visited the site with Council Liaison Jane Cooper to discuss further improvements and enhance that view further. More to come on that. Tree work was also done at the bottom of Hawthorne Lane or Centennial Park to thin the overgrown vegetation, remove a plum tree and cut back 2 plum trees where their branches were overhanging the pathway. And yeah, next in line will be Pagoda Lane, where extensive work is needed for, as I mentioned, both fire fuel reduction and general maintenance. And then trimming around streetlights at lane entrances. And I will report back on these at the next meeting. And I will hand over to Chris for an update on the handrail repairs, as well as improvements to the Park Lane seating area.
Quick update on the handrail repairs. So we've completed all those on McLean Lane, except for the ones on, I think we discussed this last meeting, on top of near Bayview Avenue. So we're still kind of scoping out how to approach that one, because the fire hydrant, we can't put the railing on, the new metal railing on that side. There's an existing wood with private improvements, lighting, water fixtures. So that's still being scoped out, the best way to install that, whether it's to replace it in wood in kind or to put a metal railing there, and then engage with the neighbor how to relocate those utilities.
All right.
And Chris, do you have an update on the Park Lane seating area?
Yes, I do. So I heard back from the contractor today, the bench brackets, they have to be fabricated, customized, because how it bends down the lip a little bit. So right now, those are in the shop getting galvanized for protective coating. So those are expected to be done next Thursday. And then once they get those back, they can begin with the bench install. So I'm anticipating the following Monday, July 20th. Hopefully they can get started on that. And then it shouldn't be too labor intensive to install that. They said a week, so maybe a week or 2 to get that done. So hopefully by the end of July, beginning of August, they can have that installed.
Thank you. Well, I had a comment on the maintenance and repairs on Pagoda. Are you able to describe the scope of what the work is? Because I know when you're sitting on that bench, there's a fair degree of overgrowth that's preventing what could be a rather nice view. So are you able to describe the plan?
Yeah. Yes, and without being there or having a picture, it's a little tricky, but basically there's a lot of ivy that's growing up among the trees and just, blocking a lot of light to the trees, so that the health of the trees is suffering. One of the trees may need to be removed because it only has foliage at the very tips of its branches with no internal branch structure. And that's a process that we will need to go through with the planning department to remove a tree. But the majority of the work is removing dead branches, thinning the trees, removing brushy vegetation and ivy from the trees. There's one area below Pagoda Lane as you walk up from Beach Road. As you're sort of walking up the hill on the right-hand side, there's some vegetation out there. There's actually a dead tree over there that's kind of hanging over the road. And yeah, so that's going to be removed. And yeah, I mean, apart from that, it's thinning and removing some of the Scotch broom and some of the weedy material on the side.
Great. It could be useful to do a before and after from sitting at the bench.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, and one concern, speaking to Bartlett out there, who will be doing the work, is that it's going to leave a lot of bare soil, and it's not going to look great, at least initially. There's going to need to be some sort of growing back by some of the vegetation. And that's where a couple of years of work comes in. So this is really a sort of a 3 or 4 year project to make it a little bit more groomed. And even though it's a natural landscape, it does need work to be maintained.
Maybe we'll go through items A and B. Does the committee have any comments or questions on items A and B from this section?
Did we decide not to proceed with any further landscaping on parkland, mulch or stuff on the side that was part of the original plan? Mostly, my concern is just stabilization, but I'm curious.
We did not reach a decision. I don't think. I think mulch. I think aesthetically would be a good idea. And I think there are quite a few things that we can do to improve that site. And I think now that we've moved away from that area as a project area and as a general maintenance area, I think general maintenance funding would be probably the best way to do that. Just have smaller maintenance projects out there that cumulatively improve the site. And I know that we had a couple of emails back and forth about that site, some of the details there. So I'm happy to continue that and pick up where we left off.
Yeah, and maybe it goes. I mean, if we're doing kind of more view stuff, maybe it kind of all gets wrapped into one, just overall plan versus kind of bare dirt at this point. Yeah. Happy to give some thoughts next Thursday when I sit down on the nice new bench. I'll ponder it.
Any other comments from the committee? Council member? Okay. Anyone on Zoom want to comment on item 4A or 4B?
From Zoom.
Any comments from the room? Okay, let's go on to item 4C, which is the lane subcommittee update, which largely has become the survey subcommittee. So I gave a brief update on the expansion of that. We originally had talked about earlier in our plan for this year in our letter to City Council that we were going to be expanding our lane survey, which we provided to city staff last year to inform development of improvement of lanes as well as maintenance. And Tony, you've acknowledged the utility of that already. We're going to be expanding that to cover open spaces and parks and recreation space. With the ask to focus on the strip area first, that's pushed that to the sort of first part of our priority in terms of getting the survey done. But we're also we built the tracker out for the additional parks and open spaces, again, using Exhibit 6 in the Belvedere General Plan to inform what those are. So we're going to go through and hopefully have as useful of a survey with photos of the different city parks and things like that. So that'll include Centennial Park, the Oak Mini Park, and some of the other areas, as well as the large park here. So we plan to have that done by end of the year, and that will be part of the package with which we hopefully present our next report to City Council. We'd like to review that internally here first, so we'll make sure that's done ahead of probably our next meeting, if not the second one. Regarding one of the projects, which was to develop an improved lanes map, Councilmember Peter Marks offered some assistance in that regard from a digital perspective, and he shared some cool ideas there. I'm now just realistically thinking it might be nice to incorporate feedback from the rest of the survey into that prior to endeavoring on updating any maps. I also think this could be useful as the city's beginning to think about the next major general plan and things like that, to try to be aligned with whatever document we produce could be helpful in that regard. My other update before I go to a question is that I met with Roger Felton, who is, I would say, the guru of the lane signs. It was amazing. He's got a lot of a flipboard of every lane sign and who painted it and when. It was really fun. And he and I have been working with city staff on improving some of the dilapidated lane signs and adding some where they are missing. So we've got that out, and thank you to city staff for providing us with some of the boards to do that. And I'm hopeful before the end of the year, we'll get some neat new signs and some improved signs. And that was one of the things in the survey that we pointed out, that some of the beautiful art is fading away. And then the last update I have is we talked about some collaboration with some of the emergency preparedness initiatives which I've not followed up on. I'm wondering, Jane, if you have any updates on that.
No, we didn't have a Be Ready Belvedere meeting
Okay.
in June. And so we're also behind.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're here.
Okay.
Okay. That is my update on item 4C. Any comments or questions from the committee? Okay. Anyone on Zoom? Sorry, Chris, we should have you sit in that seat.
No comments on Zoom.
Okay. Any comments from the room? Yes, step right up.
Me again. I have a dream, and I actually don't know if it's a lane or not. I think it might be strip, it might not be. But I walk up and down Beach Road quite a bit, and as I come up to the end of those big palm trees next to the yacht club, and then you keep up and you look over the edge and you see all the erosion on the supports for Beach Road. And I know you guys get to work on that at some point in time. But while you're thinking about that, I would love for someone on the Lanes Committee to consider making a walkway from the southernmost palm tree to that lovely beach, which you could do at a much better angle with a lot fewer steps than the current metal graded walkway that no dogs can go down. If you could do that in coordination with improving the supports, it's a great little beach that gets very little use. And I just think it's an amazing public asset that we're not maximizing. And in terms of use and ability to access the water, which is what we're all about, I would love it if you guys would consider that.
We have the same dream. That's the same beach that I went with my kids this weekend. I would say it was not so easy to get there. We went through that sort of deer path. But yeah, in fact, I've actually seen some historic documents of some sketches of that in our minds. And I do think that that is within the realm of what we've talked about for the future, and would love to follow up on suggestions that you or anyone else might have in that regard. Thank you. Okay. All right, I'll close out this item. We will now move on to item 6, discussion of the 2027 Parks, Open Spaces, Lanes report to City Council, identification and selection of priority projects, including lane restoration. So why is this on here now? It's the middle of the year. This report is due in January. I tend to procrastinate much more than this. It's mainly because we don't meet that frequently. So we want to make sure that we're aligned in talking about this. We brought this up in a previous meeting, using the feedback coming from the lane survey to drive what our priority was. And I'll remind folks, in prior years, there was a whole host of strategic priorities. And then when you're prioritizing everything, it became hard for City Council to focus on certain actions. And for the last 2 years, we've been endeavoring to identify one priority project. And I'm sort of giving it away here, but including lane restoration projects. When we last discussed, there was an idea that we would look at the lane survey results, look at the top prioritized opportunities for lane improvements, and come up with a suggestion there. I will also say that something else that we said in our previous letter that is still on the table is the improvements to Centennial Park. Jane, you had some great suggestions on that in a previous meeting. In some of the previous references I was talking about going down to the Strip, we actually went down with city staff on one such lane that was identified in the survey as a high opportunity for water access, and this is Cliff Lane on Beach Road. There is a walkway to get down. Some of this requires you to go through a sort of passable gate to get down to it, but then eventually you come to a nice curved track down that looks like historically this may have been one of the places the boats and ferries went down, but you can basically come all the way down to a pocket beach. It very much looks like an opportunity for restoration of one of these lanes that would give water access. And that's currently near the top of what I'm thinking of gathering together for this. But of course, Centennial Park is something we've talked about for a while. And I wanted to see, between those two or something else, if the committee has other directions that they would like the chair to take in drafting this report, because hopefully the chair, myself, at least for the time being. We'll be preparing that for our next meeting. So I'll open it up for comments or suggestions.
I think those are great. And thank you for all the hard work, Charlie. One thing I mentioned at the last meeting that I'd like to at least think about for consideration for the 2027 plan is Belvedere Way again. The road/path.
Yep.
There's massive erosional concerns undermining the bench up there. The gates at both ends are falling off. The culvert is a constant mess when it comes to winter and getting clogged and running over the edge and stuff like that. So maybe some of this is general, maybe some of this is more in the purview of us, but I think we should consider that for allocating some time and energy and at least discussion.
Thank you for reminding me. I know we talked about that last time, but I'll include that. John, anything?
No, I agree with what you're flagging there, and just making sure that we're looking at maintenance and where there's safe evacuation routes.
Thanks. Wayne or Jane? That rhymes. Anything?
Well, I appreciate all of it also. My dream is Centennial Park and cleaning that up, but I love cleaning up everything. And I think Belvedere Way, I walk up and down that a lot, and it is, at times it seems a lot more awful than it is. And other times it seemed like that erosion was held together, but lately it really washed away.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's probably something that deserves focus on that. And then of course, Cliff Lane, I did go down that, and I needed to be a little bit younger, but I did it, and the steps were a little too wide for me. Yeah. But it seems like there was a little bit at the top that needed help and a little bit at the bottom that needed help, and otherwise it was in great shape.
Yeah.
So it seemed worth really fixing up those two areas, and then that's done.
Yeah.
That's like an easy one.
That's how has been my opinion there too.
Yeah.
So that's why it might be nice to prioritize that earlier.
Yeah.
Wayne, I see you reaching for your mic.
Well, anytime anybody talks about easy Belvedere construction, I wince. I was wondering if the city's looked at any of that in terms of what it would take to bring things up to code and make that happen, just to have a feel for, are we in the realm of budget possibility, or is this a dream for our children?
I don't know that, Antonio, you can correct me if there's proactive actions you're taking outside of recommendations from this group as it relates to restoration projects like that. I would expect that investigation could happen after we direct you to look into this, but could you clarify?
Yeah, it's that. Yeah, both points here. I think it isn't always as easy as it seems. When you have lanes that, in this case, have a gate at the top, which is used for a residence. So to remove that and to establish a public pathway entrance up there would be the complication there. Physically, not too difficult to do, but having agreement on how that's done would be the hard part. Yeah, and I definitely agree that of the lanes on that side of Beach Road, that's one of the few that's actually a feasible construction project. And it looks like it has served that, that's provided that service before. Interesting that it has those posts, the black posts that you see around Belvedere, the very old railings, the black posts with the round ball knob on the top, that there are some on that lane. So it was clearly, a city access route at some point. And yeah, it would be wonderful to bring it back as bring it back into the facilities that are available to residents. But like I say, it's sometimes a lot more nuanced or delicate to work through the issues of what's there and how it's currently being used.
Yeah, I don't know that there was easy. It might just be relative. But maybe I would love with those three things in mind, of course, I'll open it up for feedback, but maybe that's something I can follow up with you on in terms of at least sketching out high level what like a budget might look like at a high level for those three things that we talked about. And I realize there's a lack of specificity, particularly around Belvedere Way and additionally Centennial Park, but maybe that's something you and I can collaborate on, Tony.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think, as far as bringing it up to code, I don't think very many of the lanes are up to code. They're rustic, pathways and trails. So I think a budget could be, very realistic. We should be able to put one together fairly easily. And yeah, be happy to do that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we had discussed maybe like the sort of railroad tie style approach, which seems to be like replacing some of the stuff that may have already existed and deteriorated at the top. But then as Jane talked about, most of the rest of it, with the exception of the staircase down, is seemingly in very good shape.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
What's the property address that's goes with the gate?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I think it's 270.
Okay.
And we have had gates before on revocable licenses areas. As long as they're never locked and they're always open, then I think I remember one of those on an upper side of Beach Road, not the beach side, but the other one. And there was a long discussion about as long as the gate is always left unlocked for public access, should there be a need for it. So I don't know that you actually, that's a discussion, something to find out about if we need to remove the gate or just make sure that it's always open. And then of course there's no sign there, so no one would ever know it was a lane.
If we were to endeavor on this as the priority and when
Right.
we move forward, we would put a sign.
Right.
I'm assuming. Yeah.
And quick correction, I think it's 290.
Okay.
Oh, 290. Okay.
I think the address with
With the gate.
with the gate is 290, not 270.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think it's 290. That rings a bell. All right. Thank you for this. I feel empowered to with your ideas and comments. I'll open it up to Zoom.
No comments on Zoom.
Okay. Are there any comments from the room? Okay. Fantastic. We are now on item 7. Update on fiscal year 2026-27 capital improvement project requests. Tony, would you take it away, please?
Excuse me. Yes, absolutely. This is really just, I realized that I probably mentioned this before, so it's an update, but the committee is not always aware of the CIP funding mechanism and how it does approve projects in the park. So just an update on what has been approved for this year. Community Park restroom has an upgrade, and the Community Park irrigation well, which has been in the works for a while, but that has been funded. And then the 2 smaller maintenance ones are San Rafael Avenue pathway improvements, which is repairs to the DG path out there, and then the mulch replacement out there too, as a small CIP fund. So those will be happening, and we're strategizing on how to get these completed in the next few weeks. Well, the strategizing is happening in the next few weeks, yeah, not the projects.
On the San Rafael Avenue improvements, since you brought it up, the rocks that went in at the end where we are adjacent to Tiburon's property. So there's the culvert where the stream comes out. Is that there? Who did that? Did we do that, or did Tiburon do that?
That was a Tiburon project. Yeah. There's a part of that. So the jurisdiction line is very
Right
close to
there.
that, and there was a part of that section was collapsing, so they did a project to just shore it up. Yeah.
Thank you. Can I ask for details on the restroom improvements?
But I don't really have any details, but Yeah, I will happily provide an update. And but what I can say is that we are getting an architect on board. There's a renovation in the police department as well that's also been approved. So we'd like to get an architect on contract that can do work on both of them. And yeah, as soon as we have some plans and some concepts, be happy to share them.
Just reminding of feedback that we previously received around adding purse hooks in the stalls. And that might be possible to do sooner rather than later. And also just checking in on baby changing areas.
Thank you for the reminder.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Any other comments on this item from the committee? Anything on Zoom, Chris?
No questions from Zoom.
Any comments from the room? No. Okay. Here we go. Item 8, discussion and possible motion on new committee chair and vice chair. No one's
That
speaking.
discussion is always very quiet.
Exactly. I was waiting. Yeah, so this committee meets infrequently. I believe last time we talked about the term being eligible for 2 years. I don't know exactly when the start date ends and whatnot, but it might, we're approaching the cycle where I'll be hitting 2 years as chair. I know, having read the code, I can switch over to vice chair, or someone else could step into that, and you can alternate between those two roles. But it either is time or will be time soon for someone to become the new chair. Yes, sir.
So I'd like to start with, that's very disappointing. You've done a great job.
Thank you.
So it shouldn't go without being said that if you get a third year, I'd still put you there.
Thank you.
I second that.
Did we, I'm forgetting stuff. Did we look at the terms? We did that a couple meetings ago when we looked at the terms and we thought about amending the terms. Is this, anybody recalling this? Did we ever go anywhere with that as far as clarifying or amendments? And did that get pushed through?
Yes, it did. And it was changed to a 2-year term as I think 1 year is standard. It can be extended to 2 years, if I remember correctly, and after which a new chair would be in place. And that previous chair can return at some point to be chair again. So a term limit of two terms. Yeah.
So Tony, when is the date by which we need a new chair? Do you know? Is it this meeting we have to make a
It
decision?
was confused because Jenna left. The previous chair left to go to planning. So I don't know when exactly it was. I'm sure it could be figured out.
Yes, I'm sure it can. And I'd be happy to just get that clarified.
Well, just
yeah.
to make it easy, is the thought we need a new chair by next meeting?
I think that would be good to aim for, yes. I think if there's any reason that it's not, we can skip that item on the next agenda. But I think it's on the agenda for discussion at this meeting, and at the next meeting, we should plan to have a nomination and a vote.
So I think one of the things that we keep running into in the city is all the different start and stop dates of committee chairs. And I was just thinking, since by the time we have another 1 or 2 meetings, that the city council makes all their changes on the, who becomes mayor, vice mayor, et cetera, every meeting in December. And so you don't have to think about it ever. It's always December. So maybe we want to line up with that. So it would be a couple more months, but like maybe if we have, I forget, if we have a meeting in November or early December, then that would be the appropriate time. And then we'd get on a schedule. And then I think it would be great if we could get planning commission also on the same schedule, and it would just make it easier for everybody instead of having to remember all the different stop and start dates of each committee.
I definitely agree.
So I don't know,
and
it's
I
I'm just throwing it out there as a thought.
That'd be December. And then Charlie, when do you report? When do you submit sorry, when do we submit our report?
We present, I believe, in Feb, at the
Yeah,
Feb meeting. I think it would be largely drafted at that point.
Okay. That's all I'm solving
Yeah.
for is kind of handoff at the 11th hour.
I mean,
Maybe it's a little
effectively, it's
awkward
meant to represent
The
the
prior year.
prior year, so it'll be
Yeah.
a report and then this. And then I think also during that presentation, I would be, as former chair, could come and comment on certain sections and maybe I could give a report on the previous year and then the new chair could give an update on the priority for the next year. And that might be a nice passing of the baton.
So I would be supportive of that. We put this on that December agenda and then just mark it for December turnovers.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Okay. I get, is there a motion to make a decision and switch chairs in December?
I move that we move in December to switch chairs.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, yes, aye. Okay, fantastic. Are there any comments on Zoom from that illuminating discussion?
There's no comments from.
Are there any comments from the room? Surprised. All right, perfect. We're moving on to future items. Discussion of possible items to be placed on the agenda of upcoming meetings. One thing that did come to mind for me was whether or not this group, we've had a lot of challenges scheduling this, and it feels somewhat ad hoc. And I wonder if well, it's not ad hoc, it feels ad hoc, to clarify. I wonder if we might consider a more regular schedule, perhaps 6 times a year or 5 times a year. And it's like every third Thursday or something like that. I think that would help some of this dialogue move along, I think. And hopefully it would help with availability and things like that to just bake this into your collective schedules. So right now we're on the deck to meet 4 times. I would consider bumping that to 5, if not 6, and then have maybe if it's 6, it could be every other month on some Wednesday or something like that. Don't need to debate it now, but that is my proposal that we think about that and that be an agenda item for the future. Okay.
And Charlie, I'd love the next time to be able to talk about kind of the budget for each of the priorities, just so we know what's in the realm of possibility.
Great.
That'll help with the report to City Council.
You mean each of the 3 things we talked
Yes.
about? Okay.
And when I say budget, how much would be parks and lanes, how much would be maintenance, standard maintenance, how it would be divided up.
Great. I'd love in the next meeting to get an update from John. I know that you had some level of dialogue with the Tiburon Parks Commission as it relates to opening up different access points in Tiburon. So if you could provide an update in the next meeting, that would be helpful.
Absolutely. And Marika is going to meet with the Tiburon representatives in the coming week.
Okay. Tony, do you have any items on your docket?
No, I think that's a pretty good list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else, Jane or others? No. Okay. Anyone on Zoom have any ideas?
No, they don't.
Okay. Any suggestions? No. Okay. With that, we've moved on to open forum. This is an opportunity for any citizen to briefly address the Parks and Open Space Committee on any matter that does not appear on this agenda. Upon being recognized by the chair, please state your name, address, and limit your oral statement to no more than 3 minutes. Matters that appear to warrant a more lengthy presentation or committee consideration may be agendized for further discussion at a later meeting. First, turn to Zoom. Is there anyone who would like to speak in the open forum?
There is no one on Zoom that wants to speak.
Sad. Anyone in the room? I knew it. Okay. You've heard the instructions.
3 minutes
3
and
minutes.
counting. Start the timer.
So
Not even
official.
started yet. There we go. I know you discussed paddleboard access. And something that I would love to see, which doesn't necessarily get to paddleboard access, is the corner of what I think is Main Street and Beach Road. I believe somebody said there was actually a plan which was based off of something in Denmark, which had some steps that went down to that beach. And you could even make kind of a higher place to step over. So you get a bit of a retaining wall there as well. I would love to see that beach accessible. I know parking is a bit of a concern because people are worried people might bring in paddle boards. I actually have a picture, if anyone wants to see it, of a gentleman taking a kayak out there. He was knee deep, and that's to the top of his knee in muck. So unless you're at high tide, nobody's going in and out of there with paddleboard. The beach, though, is a lovely little place. I could see a grandkid or a dog having a great time. I don't think it would create a parking problem because I don't think it's going to be a big paddleboard access point except occasionally at high tide. But just anything that can get people closer to the water, I'm in favor of. So 1 minute and whatever. But I think technically, we think of it as Art Road, but I think technically it's.
Yeah. You're the three-way intersection, right? It's the three-way intersection there, the other road coming from Woodlands.
Okay. Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes, I'll move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Yeah, I know. I love that spot. So do I.